Hey, I'm Comrade Shane, and welcome to Juche Lessons. Today we will discuss how to define the character of society from a Juche-oriented standpoint. Since its emergence, society has developed in a long historical process. In this process, societies of different types with different characters have arisen and been replaced. It is therefore important to have correct knowledge of characters and types of society in understanding society. The character of society is the essential characteristics of society in a certain stage of development. In other words, the nature of society means essential characteristics of society that is fundamentally different from nature. But also, the character of society means different essential characteristics of society in different stages of development. The main criterion for understanding the character of a society is which class or which social group takes ruling position in a certain society. Since the division of society into hostile classes, class struggle took place continuously, in which the classes that took ruling position have been replaced. The ruling class changes the structure of society according to its will. It changes the mode of production and distribution of social wealth, and newly makes up and manages political structure and ideological and cultural institutions. As a result of this, society of another character from the previous one is formed. In this sense, the character of society depends on which class or social group takes ruling position. The level of development of a certain society may be expressed by the level of productive forces and material and cultural wealth. But they only show one aspect of society. In societies of the same character, there may be differences in the level of productive forces and material and cultural level. Therefore, the level of productive forces and material and cultural wealth cannot be the main criterion for determining the character of a society. The character of society finds its concentric expression in the character of the social system. This is because the social position of a class or social group is fixed and guaranteed by the social system. The class or group that takes the ruling position in society sets up and consolidates a social system according to its will. So its ruling position is fixed on a social scale, and it is guaranteed by state authority and power. The character of a social system is precisely the character of society. And as President Kim Il-sung said, quote, "The character of a given society is determined by the class which holds power and by the form of ownership of the means of production." End quote. Firstly, the character of society is decided by who has state power. Unlike a political party or social organization, state power is the most comprehensive political organization. Political parties or social organizations can control only its members, but state power can control all the people in a country. state power is not only comprehensive in scope of management, but also coercive. With law, the state controls and punishes those who violate the law. This is the state power. The class or group that has state power, therefore, can control the members of society according to its will and interests, and set up a social system suitable to its will and interests. On the contrary, the class or group that has no state power is socially subjugated and oppressed. Accordingly, the character of society is decided by which class or group has state power. Capitalist society is reactionary and anti-popular society that pursues the greedy demands and interests of the capitalist class. This is because in that society, a handful of individuals, the capitalist class, takes state power. Socialist society is the most advanced and popular society to date, where the will and interests of the working class and other people are fully realized. That is because the broad masses are genuine masters of the state power in a socialist society. The character of society is also decided by relations of property over the means of production. This is important, but not the only factor that decides the character of society. As mentioned before, the means of production is material means to organize the production of life data necessary for survival and development of mankind. According to the form of property of the means of production, the ruling class or group is different in economic life. If this is fixed into a system, it concentrically expresses the nature of society. The society where the form of private property over the means of production prevails is exploiter society, whereas the society where the form of social property over the means of production prevails is socialist society. Therefore, the form of property over the means of production is an important factor that defines the character of society. As I mentioned before, there are two factors that define the character of society. That is the possession of the state power and the relations of property over the means of production. Here, the former is more decisive. That is because other social relations, such as the relations of property over the means of production, is established according to the demands of the ruling class, and the right to property that is not guaranteed by power cannot be maintained or developed. For example, in the framework of feudal society, capitalist forms of property began to rise, placing capitalist class in the ruling position in economic life. But this class cannot be master in society until it assumes power, and the society remains as feudal society. This tells us that without changing the class and power, character of society is not fundamentally changed, although there is change in the relations of property over the means of production. It is therefore the relations of property over state power that plays a decisive role in defining character of society. However, if the relations of property over the means of production is neglected, it is impossible to correctly and comprehensively define the character of society. For instance, although the working class takes power after victory in anti-imperialist, anti-feudal democratic revolution, the society is not socialist society while there remains private property over the means of production and exploiter class. Only when the working class takes power and social property is set with elimination of private property over the means of production is a genuine, popular socialist society. Therefore, in order to correctly define the character of the society, it is necessary to put stress on the relations of property over the state power in considering the relations of property over the means of production. In human history, there have been societies of different types. We can divide them into three. That is, early society, where there had been primitive equality, exploiter society, where the people have been socially subordinated, and socialist or communist society, that ensures position and role of genuine masters for the people. Human history has developed in the process in which the society of these types were changed sequentially. The society of the first type in human history is early society. In this society, people had lived in equal relations, forming clan or tribe, the collective that was linked by blood. People jointly managed society depending on clan or tribal council, the political organization for common interests. They jointly possessed means of production, although the productive forces were low, and jointly worked and jointly consumed products. Therefore, in this society, there were no class, state, exploiter, and oppressor. The early society is characterized as a society where primitive equality prevailed. Early society that had lasted for millions of years converted into exploiter society after the emergence of class. The exploiter society changed from slaveholder society into feudal society and again into capitalist society. Slaveholder society is the first form of exploiter society, born after the collapse of early society. The main classes in slaveholder society were slaveholders and slaves. The slaveholder class were the ruling exploiter class that had state power and means of production. The slaveholders fully possessed slaves, severely exploiting, freely selling and buying, and even killing the slaves. In this society, there were not only slaves, but also freemen, peasants, and handicraftspersons. They were not totally possessed by slaveholders as slaves, but were severely oppressed and exploited, eventually falling into slaves. Slaveholder society is the society where slaveholders took state power and the means of production, fully possessing slaves. Feudal society is another form of exploiter society that was born after the fall of slaveholder society. Feudal society is another form of exploiter society that was born after the fall of slaveholder society. Feudalism is a society based on private ownership of feudal landlords over land. In this society, there were land cultivated by private labor and small ownership of peasants and handicraftsmen over the production tools. In this society, feudal landlords could buy or sell serfs, but were prohibited by law to kill them. Feudal society is a society where there prevailed a caste system, made up by feudal landlord class to maintain their rule. The exploitation and oppression of the people by the ruling class and exploiter class were more legalized by the caste system. In this system, children of aristocrats or noblemen became automatically aristocrats or noblemen, regardless of traits. Children of quote-unquote lower castes could not escape their status. In this society, there existed religious despotism and inhumane caste system that imposed ignorance upon the people. It is an exploiter society where feudal landlords took state power and means of production and subjugated and exploited serfs and peasants by the caste system. This society collapsed by the struggle of the people who resisted feudal exploitation and caste subjugation. Capitalist society is the last exploiter society that rose after the collapse of feudal society. Capitalist society is reactionary and anti-popular society where a handful of capitalist class took state power and means of production and violated the independence of the working people, including workers and peasants, severely exploiting them. Capitalist society turned individualism into unlimited greed of the capitalists. Capitalist society turned the exploitation that was hidden by religious and political illusion of the medieval age into open, impudent, direct, and cruel exploitation. The capitalists who pursue unlimited greed turn labor power into a commodity, their personal value into exchange value, and thus suck blood and sweat of the workers and other peoples. Capitalist society is heaven for the minority of the ruling class, but hell that gives starvation, poverty, pain, and non-right to the majority of working people. Capitalist society is Maimonides' reactionary society based on thorough individualism. This society is the society everyone for oneself, society of law of the jungle, where individuals' hedonism is the highest ideal and purpose for which all means and methods are justified. Today, imperialists vociferate about superiority and material prosperity of capitalist society, which is no more than a screen to cover a bloody land of the jungle law and the people's material, spiritual, and cultural poverty. The individualist society brings about exploitation, oppression, money-making of the minority, poverty of the majority, class conflict, and inequality, which reaches the extreme in capitalist society. Along with this, people's independence is enhanced and the revolution is strengthened, eventually replacing capitalist society with collectivist socialist society. This is an inviolable law of history. Socialism is the society of a new type that is fundamentally different from exploiter society that had existed in human society. Socialist society is genuine popular society, where the people take state power and means of production and they are masters of everything, and where everything serves them. In this society, there prevail genuine equality and harmony, free from exploitation and oppression of humanity by humanity. In this society, the people develop society rapidly, helping and leading each other forward under the slogan, "One for all and all for one," in firm unity with high awareness of being masters. Today, imperialists and reactionaries vociferate about setback of socialism and end of socialism over the fall of socialism in Eastern European countries, but this is nothing but sophism. However viciously they run wild, socialism advances victoriously along its way. Of course, there can be trials and difficulties and temporary setbacks, but socialism is scientific doctrine that reflects most correctly the essential demands of humanity and is a new, superior society that came into being, negating the old and reactionary capitalist society. The future of humanity is stored in socialism. That's all for this episode. Check out our Facebook and Twitter pages for more Juche and DPRK content, which I will leave links to in the description of this video. If you enjoyed what you saw, please remember to like, subscribe, and share, so we can raise the revolutionary consciousness of the masses. And because I run solely on your motivation and encouragement. Red salute, Juche comrades!